Record on this computer. Okay. I am recording from my vantage point.
All right.
Whenever you guys are ready, let me know.
3, 2. Wait a second.
Okay. Come one, come all. Welcome back to Chiowa. As always, I am Michael Olson alongside my good buddy Michael Stampa. We've got some special guests this week. We have two ultramarathoners on this week, recurring guests, Alex and Nate Bleadorn. Fellas, how we doing? How we feeling? Congrats on your 50-miler this past weekend.
Thank you. Thanks for having us back.
Yeah. So Nate and Alex were on a few months ago, kind of talking about
like in January, February, March.
Yep, talking about running plans, running schedules, etc. And phase one might be the only phase this year, but is accomplished and complete and checked off, and they're here to talk about it. So I guess before we get into that, Michael, how are you feeling a week removed from your ultra before we move into the next one? How are we feeling? You feeling fully recovered? Week was good. Feeling okay?
Great. Feel great. Feel recovered. Good. Last week was pretty much a down week. Went on a handful of walks, a couple of runs. I'm good to go and I'm back. I'm just tired because I'm just a tired old person now.
Because you're an old person.
I'm an old person. Yep. But I'm much more interested to hear about what Nate and Alex have to say because everybody just fucking hears us talk all the time.
Yep. So let's get into it, boys. Maybe talk about Nate, what race you guys ran, how it went, how we're feeling, if there'll be another one in the future. But yeah, take the floor. Let's hear about it, guys.
No direction.
Great. Well, we ran the
start with the race first. What race did you guys run?
The Prairie Spirit Trail 50. They had a 100-miler, 100K, 50-miler, and 50K. So it's down in Ottawa, Kansas, which is about 40 miles south of Lawrence, Kansas. So close to Kansas City, not too far. We found it. Alex found it on Ultra Sign Up, looking for just a race somewhat close here in the Midwest and early in the season before summer picks up and we're all over the place. So that's how I found it. But we ran the 50-miler, first 50 for both of us, and went pretty well. It was a really, really fun race.
Yeah. So maybe take us through kind of the entire experience. It was down in Kansas. Obviously, you guys were on the road. It was a Saturday race. So you guys had, you went down there like Friday, but take us through the whole pre-race stuff. You guys got there on Friday. What was pickup like? What was the environment the night before? Any pre-race routine you guys went through prior to actually the gun going off and towing the line? What did that pre-race routine look like for you guys?
So we drove down to the hotel Thursday after we both got off work and got to the hotel, got things figured out, and basically just worked from home remotely, worked from the hotel on Friday, and then packet pickup was Friday afternoon. So we drove down to Ottawa and did packet pickup, which wasn't very exciting at all. It was just at the finish line and there was no packet at all. It was just they handed us a t-shirt and the bib number, and that was it. So I guess in a normal non-COVID year, the Friday night is pretty exciting. They do like a big pasta feed of some sort at the finish line area. It's on the I assume the county fairgrounds down there, and so kind of a big multi-purpose building that's their home base. For the most part, it was just shut to the public this year, but normally they do the packet pickup and then a meal, pre-race meal there on Friday night. So from the sounds of it, that's been a hit in years past. We just missed out this year. So
I guess we're gonna have to go down.
Have to go back. Yeah, exactly.
Nothing wrong with it. There's multiple distances, right? We can knock out a quick 100-miler or a quick 50K.
Yeah,
either one sounds like fun.
Yeah, I think this was the ninth annual too. So obviously there was 8 races prior. So obviously I'm sure they have it pretty buttoned down. And obviously this year being kind of an outlier year is kind of a bummer for you guys. Then I experienced that Friday night excitement. But I guess how did the start? I guess the field differ to past years, if you guys are aware. Did they cap it at a certain number of runners this year? Was it limited? Was it the same? What did that look like for the start line? Was it small, big, medium, large? What was the size of the race?
I don't know if they actually capped it. They had some that were transferred over from last year. I think they had to postpone it.
Yep.
and they probably had the option to run it in the fall. I think they did it in the fall last year. Probably had that option to run it in the fall or to transfer over to this year. So I know there were a few of those. I don't know if they actually capped it or not, but
any idea roughly how many runners there were?
I think there were 300 or 400 in total across the distances. They did waves at the start, so fairly like unceremonious start to the whole day. Again, we had just kind of clocked it the night before. We stayed up in Lawrence, so just wanted to know how long the drive was going to take. And but yeah, it honestly, we were talking during the run. It's kind of nice to just do these rolling starts and waves, because aside from missing the the nice photo op that the pack start gate presents, or the national anthem and some things like that are kind of cool. It's a lot like lower stress. I thought you're not like waiting in a huge portal line, not like cramming in there, and then everyone's just like standing there freezing for 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever it is. So I mean, we showed up probably 20 minutes early is all. We hopped out and took our top layers off, or got everything set up, got our packs on, hit the porto, and then we were just kind of basically walked up to the start line. The guy counted it down, and then we took off. So
there's a key piece there we can't gloss over. You had time to hit. I mean, you got there 20 minutes before you guys towed and left. But
yeah,
you had time to hit the porto, get any pre-race shits out. Obviously, that's the most important thing you can ever do prior to a race. So you still allowed it enough time to kind of hit the porto before you got the gun and went off, huh?
And I saw the night before, there's only 4 portos at like the start finish area. I'm like, that's not nearly enough. But yeah, there's like no line. They had nice small compact waves, and they did like a countdown for the start time of each wave. But they also said basically like during the 10 minutes of your assigned time, you can just go off whenever. So they're just trying to like kind of section people off. So yeah,
just take off.
Yeah, I think they did. Did they do an air horn or something? Yeah, they had like an air horn. Like a guy counted down from 5 and then sent people out. So we literally like walked in the start corral as he was at like 5. So like we did a continuous roll to the start line. So it was pretty
momentum.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
and then all 4 of the courses do an out and back.
Okay.
So it starts in Ottawa and goes south and goes back north. But also all 4 of the distances make up a little distance at the beginning, just to like make the turnaround points and aid stations all line up nice. So slightly different based on the race, but our first 4 miles brought us back to the start finish to start going south. So we went north first, and that was like the busiest part probably, because we saw the group that had left 15 minutes before us is just coming back. We're like passing everyone. So very nice that they didn't make us do that at the end, like come past the finish line and make up a few miles to come back.
That would have been so evil.
Yeah.
So evil. But it would have been kind of fun as a race director to be like, you get this option, you can do either one, and just feel like you have that head start 4 miles ahead of everybody else, but knowing that you have to do it at the end.
I feel like that's a lot of race directors seem to have that kind of that twisted mentality. Like Boonville's one, for example. If you do the 100 mile, or you do the 100K course, then the 50K course, and then the 10K course, all while coming back to the start finish each time. They're like, oh, you can stop if you want. You can get credit for 100K, or you can get credit for 94, or you can go back, go out and finish those next 2 loop or the 1 loop that's remaining. But it's definitely kind of a mind fuck, which I think that RDs definitely enjoy.
Yeah.
So have either of you completed an ultra before in this?
No, just in training.
Okay. So then how did you approach your like pre-race? How did you prep like the night or 2 before? So not having gone through it before, how did you decide what you want to eat, what time you wanted to wake up, how you wanted to execute your game plan, etc.?
We're basically sponsored by McAllister's Deli. We had that once on the way down. I think once when we got there, and then maybe another time. So we had that a whole bunch this weekend.
What was the order? And I love McAllister's are so good. We don't have them like in the city here, and I miss them like living in Des Moines. Like what did you have? I used to fucking love their chicken tortilla soup. I would just crush their chicken tortilla soup. So let me hear about the McAllister's Deli order, because this is obviously a sub food podcast as much as it is running. So.
Yeah, I had the chicken tortilla soup.
Hell yeah!
Every time we were there. and also had I think it's like a Chipotle chicken sandwich. It has chicken, obviously, and roasted corn, I think. And
Like the pressed panini one, like the warm sandwich.
yeah,
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 that's my
yep,
go-to too, baby. So good.
yep.
Yeah.
With the side of the soup and then also mac and cheese. So loading up on everything.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
So good.
Yeah,
Nathan?
I did one of those hot Sammys too. I usually do the Memphian, but that's got a little bit of like zing, a little tang to it. So 2 nights before I had that, I didn't want to like
Just be
risk
careful.
anything weird with my stomach the night before.
Smart.
And then I same thing. Like love the chicken tortilla soup, but if it's a little too spicy for me,
Yeah.
one time I think I did the like the loaded mashed potato or baked potato one or whatever, a little bit
Yep.
more tame for the night before. But yeah, that's what fueled us up. Other things as far as the prep, just try to get good sleep. It's always kind of weird, like in a hotel, and that's like something that is I feel like it's hard to control when you travel for any race. It's like you might be in a hotel or camping, or you get in late the night before or something like that. So luckily we got down there a night early and then like had the day, so that was kind of nice. But yeah, just tried to I would say like during our training, we for our long runs especially try to do those fairly early in the morning, just to get them out of the way one, but also just to try to like run at that time of the day and get used to getting up and getting the body going. So
Yeah.
So obviously this is the first kind of race that you guys did of the ultra distance. I know you guys did the Coonville Flat Roads second
Yeah.
annual biannual 50K in your what was it?
Non-annual.
Non-annual
Second
50K that Michael and I
second
did.
inaugural.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you guys had done at least, you were ultra marathoners technically prior to the start gun going
Yep.
off. But yeah, talk about any pre-race nerves. I mean, going and running 50 fucking miles is a long way. Anybody who's in their best shape, not sure they're going to finish 50 miles. So maybe talk a little bit about any pre-race nerves. When did those go away? Was it after the gun went off? After you settled into the run? When did that occur, if at all?
Yeah.
I really never had any nerves. When we went down to packet pickup on Friday night, JLo was with us, I think, and she was asking if we were getting nervous at all, like being at the actual start, the
Right.
place where the race was going to start. I didn't really feel anything. Didn't really seem real yet. And the following morning, I mean, it just obviously we woke up early. I think I had my alarm set for 5 a.m. So I think Nate woke up about 50 minutes earlier, but it didn't really seem like anything, just seemed like another training run, honestly. Once we got to the race, usually your stomach is churning, and I didn't really even have any of that. It just honestly seemed like another run to me. But
yeah, I would say the one thing for me was like we were almost surprised by decent weather because our training started the second week of December or so.
November.
End of November, I guess. So like the vast majority of our training has been in just like pretty brutal winter conditions. So it's a more annoying to like have an dress for that, but it's also easier because just like, okay, it's like a base layer, another layer over that, then like a shell of some sort. Like I'm wearing tights for all my runs. I'm wearing like thick gloves, a hat. And then all of a sudden, this race started, it was like 48 degrees. And I was like, I don't know what to wear. So what could have been a lot bigger mistake was I wore this jacket that I run like almost all my training runs in is like my outer layer. It's like a thick, like windbreaker type jacket. And it was way too warm. And I was kind of like in between of what to wear. And I picked that for whatever reason. And so so those first four, and then we're back to the start finish area. And then from there, it's about 6 or 7, I think, to the first aid station. So by the time we saw like our crew, our folks came down, and then Josefina was there. And so the first time we saw them was like 10, 11 miles in, and I was way too hot. So I was like, that was probably like the most challenging, or the most like nerve racking part for me was like, oh shit, am I going to blow up now? Because I was sweating like crazy. My stomach was a little weird. And so like I hit the pit toilet at that stop. And I did like a full top change, like got a fresh shirt and a lighter weight long sleeve. So from there I felt a lot better. But yeah, that was so like early on, that was like a little nerve wracking, like I said, because I was like, oh man, I'm sweating too much. We went out probably a little hot too, like just like feeling good and excited. And we're pushing the pace probably a little bit. So we settled in a little bit after that. But so as far as like nerves, I think that was probably the only part of it. And in your head, you're like, okay, try to not go out too fast. And then obviously we did almost all of our training together. And we're also kind of like telling each other, like, are we going too fast? Are we good? Like, how does this feel? And I also feel like there needs to be a word for like being a hypochondriac type of mindset, but like all of a sudden when you're running and you think everything's wrong, like oh my gosh, do I feel something in my shoe? Like, do I have a blister? Do I have whatever? And it's like, that only lasts for a few miles. And then it's almost the opposite where it's like nothing phases you and maybe you should be like a little bit more careful. Like I got a pretty gnarly blister that I'm still dealing with. It's fine. But like, I never even felt it. I'm like, oh, like I would have like kept walking on it. And I took my socks off at the race. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. It's like one of those things where it's like, if you can't see it, it's not there. So I'm not even going to bother looking. I'm going to deal with it after the race. It's like, it's probably a problem. And it's probably going to suck for the next 1 to 2 weeks after this. But for the time being, I'm just going to pretend that doesn't exist. And it's not a fucking problem in my shoe.
Yeah.
The same problem this past weekend in my race too. But yeah, that's I resonate with that so much. It's like, well, for the first couple miles, you're like, all right, settle in. Don't go too fast. You're going to do something wrong. Like, oh, is that a rock in my shoe? Is it just like it's just in my head?
Like my pack's too tight. I gotta
my pack's too tight.
Fix my glasses, all that stuff.
Is rubbing am I gonna chafe in like 4 hours? And then I think something just switched and you're like, I don't give a fuck about anything. I don't give a shit. I'm gonna eat whatever. I'm not gonna give a shit about that little twinge in my ankle or whatever. It's just gonna be, out of sight, out of mind. Yeah. So I think that's
there's gotta be a term for that. We gotta make it up at least.
Yeah. And I think that's any ultra runner ever, or any runner that does long distance can relate to that, which is like a perfect way to put it. You're just a switch that gets flipped. And you just don't give a shit anymore. That's too.
So funny. In that first leg, we also got to like the first photo section. So the one thing I will say I love about this race, and more races are doing it this way, but the race team like pays for all the photos, so you can just go like download them. I know there's some races that are still like you got to go, and then it's like a huge watermark across it, and you got to go buy your photo. But this is like as part of the thing.
Mile 90 photography.
Yeah, mile 90. Yep.
They were at Psycho Waiko. They do Mines of Spain. They do like a lot of races. They do a good job.
Yeah. And I heard I think Michael, you might have replied to it on Twitter, but there was somebody who tweeted being like, let's do away with like the race shirts. And I like race shirts fine, and I have no problem with getting race shirts. I like them a lot. But there's a thread about like, what do other race directors do to maybe like do something unique? And like one of the ones that I liked, and somebody's like, we do like professional photography, and like we don't charge for that. Like, that's like our giveaway. It's like you get the photos from, mile 90, whoever it is, some professional group, that's like your gift. Like you get these awesome photos for free when normally they would cost, $50, $60, whatever it is, which I think is a great like little perk. Cause your photos looked awesome that you were sharing with the group. It looked fucking sweet. Yeah.
And I think we missed out on it, but one of the things they did too that was like available is they do like portraits almost. So they had like a little like backdrop setup. It was nothing fancy, but if we would have taken a little bit more time at the like start finish, we could have done them then. But that's kind of cool too. So right about the time, we didn't really run like with too many people, just with each other, which was obviously nice. But right about the time we got to the first photo person, I was still like sweating like crazy in my my too thick a coat, and we were coming up behind these two gals, and we were like running at a pace where we were catching them a little bit, but then you're also like doing the math, if like you're about to turn around or like you're about to take a turn and you're like, am I going to pass them or have to do something or can I just avoid them? So that was happening, except for the thing that was coming up was this photo area. And I'm like, we're going to be hitting that photo area at the same time we're meeting like the pace of these two women running. And so we're going to be in their photos. So I made a joke as we went by. I'm like, hey, I'll see you guys in our Facebook memories forever, because I was like on this day, like there we were. So yeah, that was kind of funny, but they came into play later on, we actually ran with one of the girls who we later found out was named Megan from the race photos and stuff. But Megan like caught up to us, or we caught up to her, and vice versa. So that was kind of cool.
Nice.
That's
What,
awesome.
what did like the race course look like? I think it was like old rail trail, or what was like was it limestone? Was it gravel? Like, was there any elevation? Like, take us through like the actual like the race like course layout.
Yeah. So we started off on asphalt in Ottawa, and then got across, or I guess under the highway.
Before we do that, though,
Yeah.
sorry to cut you off. When we went on the north, like making up those miles,
4 miles.
we saw something I'd never seen before, which was a bike lane right down the center of the lane. So
like
it's in this
street
of Ottawa.
So, yeah, rather than being on the sides, like where you park.
Fuck.
So the trail comes out, and then all of a sudden it comes basically from a T onto a main drag in town. I guess it's off maybe like an old Main Street type of thing. So the double yellow line, like in the center line for driving, is in the center of the trail. And then there's like a lane of the trail on each side. And then there's more yellow lines for the cars. So like there were no cars really because it was early in the morning. But if cars were driving by, they would have been on either side of this trail, just running straight up the middle. So that was kind of wild.
Bizarre.
That you would have been running on.
Yeah.
I do not like that.
Yeah.
That makes me weird. Was there any sort of a barrier or anything?
No.
How wide
Damn.
was it? Just normal, like,
Just a bike lane.
Yeah, it was like a double wide. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, that was asphalt to start.
Okay.
Yep. So asphalt, I guess, and then that road in the bike lane, and then we went south and crossed the highway. I don't know which highway, but went under that, and then that's where the limestone started. So it was crushed limestone for most of it. There was a spot in Garnett, which was the turnaround, was where we hit asphalt and cement again. But most of it was crushed limestone, so pretty soft to run on, and
Pretty flat though. It was old rail trail. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
Yep. So there was, I mean, I guess if you check the elevation, we probably went up like 10 feet, but
I'm gonna check right now.
I bet it was a few hundred, but yeah.
yeah, but there was, like, I mean,
Negligible.
a pretty long,
Yeah.
uphill and a pretty long downhill. So
Yeah.
not too noticeable when you're running it, but
Right.
you know, you could see the elevation, I guess, just see the gradual uphill.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
you could basically see the turnaround from the time you started the
Yeah.
race, because it was
It
literally
was
just
25
straight
miles.
south and
Yeah.
then back north.
Yeah.
So,
Basically, as far as you could see, that's how far you could see. Yeah.
yeah.
From most perspectives, like for the race director, like the race operations team, and then also our crew, is like just one of the best, easiest courses in terms of access and setup. So we had the 50-mile course had 5 manned aid stations. So 2 that we'd hit twice, and then the turnaround.
Sure.
And those were like in town. So that made it really easy. There's basically little trailheads at these parks or towns where there's, at least some parking and like easy access to get on the trail. So like we said, mom and dad and JLo had like a really easy time finding those. And then
Super nice.
just in terms of like all those logistics, I'd imagine for the race director, it's pretty easy to not worry about like, driving people out to the middle of nowhere, or like,
Right.
crews getting lost. So yeah, it's basically like the limestone and then some concrete when you get into town and stuff.
Got it.
Yeah, and so having the aid stations in town is helpful for, like you said, JLo and your parents to navigate to them, have something to do in town while they're waiting for you. But also the crews, or the people at the aid station, if they need to get more water or get more food, they're right in town. They don't have a 30-minute trip out and back.
Yep.
Definitely.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So you're on crushed limestone for most of this. You were talking about how your first 10 miles you were kind of dealing with you were wearing what was familiar with you during your training runs, a little bit too much clothing on you. Besides that, like what was the point? And it happens at every single race, regardless of the distance, and especially when you're doing a 50-miler. But what was that first piece of like adversity? Any point like doubt creep in, or what was that point where you're like, man, shit, this is getting really kind of tough? Or was it? Or maybe you didn't have that.
Maybe
moment,
there was
but,
none.
Yeah.
I think for me at least, I think the first 50K, the first 30 miles, 31 miles seemed, we'd done that before.
Right.
Seemed just like a train run. Past that, obviously, you still have 20 miles to go to finish. So that's where it started to suck for me, at least.
And that's unknown distance, like you said.
Yeah.
You've done 31 miles before
Right.
once, and then after that, this is all new PRs. It's all
Yeah.
new. Yeah.
Yep. So the turnaround, since we had that a little bit at the beginning, I think it was like 28 miles.
Yeah, 27 and change.
Is that when we
27
talked?
miles
that
for
what
the
we talked
turnaround.
about?
Yep,
Yep.
that's when we FaceTimed.
Okay.
Yep. So, from there to the next aid station was okay, but then I think from there on was when it started getting the most tough for me, at least.
And just before we go to Nate, and I
Yeah.
not to cut you off there, Nate, but Alex, any point where you're like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore? Was there any doubt of like, maybe I'm just going to throw in the towel, or were you always like, fuck this, I'm finishing? Like, what was that internal conversation that you were having with yourself?
Yeah, I was pretty set, from the start that I would finish. I don't think there was ever a point where I thought about dropping. Well, for one, I mean, you're in the middle of nowhere, so you can't really drop. I mean,
Yeah,
you have to
exactly.
get to a town.
Get to an aid
You have to get to a town to drop anyway. So
Yeah.
that was the worst part about if you would drop.
Or the best.
Or the best.
You have no choice to do it. Well, I might as well fucking keep going.
Yeah, exactly. So that was, I mean, in my mind, I knew I would finish. It was just, it would be slower than what I had hoped for. But, there were some points in there where I was obviously walking and running and,
Of course,
doing, once it got hard, I started, walking 1/10 of a mile and then trying to jog 2/10.
Yep.
And then if I was feeling really good, 3/10. But tried to keep myself to only walking 1/10 of a mile at a time. So that's what kept me going forward. But, overall, there was never a spot where I was going to drop. So
awesome. How about you, Nate?
That's good.
Yeah, like the hard parts. I mean, the end is hard, and we knew that would be hard. But I think like the difficult parts, like tactfully too, were also once we left the second aid station to go to the turnaround and back. Those were like some of the longer distances between aid, and so like we took a little extra time at that second manned aid station to make sure we had everything. I think between the first and second aid station is where I left without any. I thought like restocking goos and blocks and stuff. So I had a couple left over, and Alex had one for me too. But like I know the crew felt bad, and Jayla said like almost right as I left, she like realized that I had like restocked on those. But there's just nothing you can do, obviously,
Right,
So,
right.
But at that second aid station, we were like going for kind of a longer push. I think Alex has like the distances between it, but from Richmond, which was the second manned aid station, to the turnaround was basically 9 miles.
Ooh, okay.
That's a long,
And there's
way.
there's an
long
unmanned
stretch,
like
yeah.
water stop in between there, so you could just like refill your bottle or whatever. But then you hit the turnaround and you go that same 9 miles back to the next one. So those were the two like longest distances, and also just like the most mentally taxing, I would say. And then the last,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, and then just like the last bit, obviously when you're just kind of dead. But in the coming back is when we the girl from earlier that we got in the Facebook photo with, she ran up on us when we had just come across this dog. So
we had seen it up ahead, and it was saying what's up to the photographer. And so the photographer was like taking pictures of it and then also like petting it and stuff. So like, is this like the photographer's dog?
Yeah.
We didn't see it on the way out, but maybe like somebody brought it or something.
Yeah. And so we just kind of got up there, and it was wearing a collar. So we're like, it's not, I don't know if it's like it's somebody's dog clearly, but so it was like kind of running along the trail. It ended up running with us for about like almost 4 miles. This dog was like, and it would kind of run up a little bit, like go off side to side and come back and go behind us and stuff. And I stopped to see if it had like a tag or anything on the collar. It didn't. It's just a plain collar. But Megan, who's from Iowa City, like came up and she's like, "Is that your pacer? He's supposed to have a bib on." So that was pretty funny. She ran by us after we chatted for a bit, and then I stole her joke and used that like 2 or 3 times on other people that ran by. But so that provided a little bit of like relief on some of those when we were kind of doing like walk run, like getting to that last kind of big push to what was then the 4th aid station.
Nice. And I think that
Okay.
you said that dog is kind of like known for that race. Like it just pops out like randomly, like a random like guide throughout the race. It's like a mythical creature that just guides you on your way
Yeah,
through
are you
this 50-mile or 100-mile
sh-
race. Speak to
Yeah, are you
speak to
sure
that.
this dog actually? Are you sure this dog actually existed?
You,
And wasn't
you can check the photos.
the dog?
We'll get the photos
Yeah.
for sure because they took some photos of it too. But yeah, this Megan gal said that like she had read a race report or something from a couple years ago and they'd mentioned the dog. So I
Okay.
mean, it's also like the trail kind of runs on a lot of like farmland areas too. So we heard other dogs barking and a lot of other like commotion along it. So it could have been another dog.
It was
at
probably
a time,
just like
but-
a farm dog, like an outdoor dog, and it heard people. I don't know, and just came up to explore, and
I love it.
there you go.
Okay. So it
Yeah.
is confirmed a real
Got
thing.
some
It's,
miles.
it's confirmed a real animal, and it's not like a Courtney Dauwalter like leopard in a
Right,
hammock or anything.
exactly.
Okay. It does exist.
Exactly.
Got it.
Or a
Okay.
Kyle Mueller monkey in the
Yeah.
Browns woods.
Monkey in the
Yeah.
woods. Yeah.
Yeah.
Browns woods. Yeah.
So I looked it up. It was 567 feet of gain on Nate's watch and 561 on Alex's. So
Yeah.
pretty accurate.
Pretty
That's
flat.
22 feet a mile. That's not. That's flat. That's pancake.
Yeah, it's pretty flat. Honestly, we were after we finished, they had like a massage therapist there, and he was saying afterwards that like sometimes it's almost better to have a little bit more gain in a race because it can just like switch up how your legs are going a little bit. I totally agree with that. Of like, you know, some like a little bit of a more of a climb would have felt nice just to kind of switch up the sensation in your legs and stuff. So
And then
Using
you
different
get
muscles. Yeah.
you get built-in walk breaks too.
Yeah.
Because nobody's gonna sprint up those hills. No one's a hero on the uphill.
Yeah,
But everyone's a hero
exactly.
downhill.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So okay, so we talked about some adversity. How about the highs? Obviously outside of the finish line, because that's obviously always the high. Like what were some other like some points you're like, man, like I'm stoked to be out here, like just, you know, feeling a sense of gratitude. Like what were the highs of this 50-miler for you guys, and maybe outside the finish line, then we can get to the feeling of across the finish line later. But what were some of the highs you guys felt throughout the journey?
I think the highs for me were all on the way out because I was feeling the best.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, the aid stations are like the promised land. Like anytime
Yeah.
you get to an aid station,
Yep.
you get to see people. You get to. My thing was drinking Dr. Pepper. I would just crave Dr. Pepper when I was
I was
running.
getting to the food questions. Believe me, I have a whole bunch of food questions I hadn't got to yet. But yeah, so Dr. Pepper was the go-to for you.
Yeah, that
Okay.
was what was saving me. But I mean, aid stations were just the high for me. I don't think there was really anything else. I mean,
Around.
obviously being out there was fun and everything, but the aid
Definitely.
stations like were definitely the high during it. So
Yeah, I think so too. Like, and I think this shirt design logo should have like water towers on it because at each of the aid stations we hit in the little town, there was like a water tower, and
Oh, cool.
same thing at the start finish. So it's like a tour of water towers. That's like a small town thing, anyways.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you would like see the water tower and like, okay, that's got to be a town. It's got to be close to the aid station. And like, you're always like checking your watch more than you should. Like I was getting my head about that. I'm like, don't look at my watch for a while. And then I like look and I'm like, why did I do that? But, you know,
I was
like,
0.04 miles. How was that?
yeah, the weird math that you're doing, you know, and like, as we were coming into one of the,
Never correct. Never
I think it was the second aid station we were coming into. And we were like or maybe it was the first aid station. We were trying to, as we come into aid stations, we were just chatting a little bit about like kind of getting a game plan of like, okay, are we filling bottles? You know, what food are we grabbing? You know, do we need to make any changes with like our kit or whatever? And one, we're like talking as we're coming in, there's another guy there and we're asking how far to the next one. And he like said a completely wrong distance. Like it was definitely way wrong, like off by 3 or 4 miles at least. And he's like, oh wait, are you guys doing the 50K? And we're like, no, we're the 50 mile. He's like, oh, that's what I'm doing. But you guys don't look like you're in my age group. So we're like, I assume that guy got lost or something.
Yeah.
Or like he was either at the aid station way too soon or way too late.
How do you get lost on an out and back trail?
Yeah.
Like rail trail.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So that was kind of funny. But yeah, the high is definitely like coming into the aid stations was nice. Those first two manned aid stations, the second manned aid station is the turnaround for the 50K. So like you're just seeing everybody on the course, you know, and we started 45 minutes after the 100 milers, the first group of 100 milers went. So as we're kind of going, like we're catching some of the 100-mile and 100K folks, and then we're kind of in the mix with the 50-mile and 50K folks. So the first half, especially, we saw a lot of people, and it was fun once the people that won the 50-miler, like those first, 5 or 6 people that were really fast, when they hit the turnaround, that was like, okay, first of all, how are they that far ahead of us? But then it was also like a little bit of like hope that we got to be getting close if they're hitting the turnaround and stuff.
So
So
the first guy was like 10 miles ahead of us, I think, when we first saw him.
It's tough to do that math too, because you had the 4 mile out and back to start.
Right.
So it's not like that turnaround is
It's
exactly halfway.
Yeah.
So then that gets into more trail math. Well, it's like, all right,
Right.
well, this out and back is really only 46 miles, and I'm 8 miles from the end. So how far are they? This is like, this is what they said would happen in math class when you're in elementary school.
Yeah.
And now you're applying it to real world. It's like,
I would say like I'm a proponent of that though. Like in future race like course designs, like having the turnaround be past halfway, like that was awesome mentally to be like, oh, we're already past halfway. We already hit it, and like just I mean the weird like barriers that you set up in your mind too, like for us being past the marathon. It's like, yeah, we've already run a marathon. We're like coming hot on 50K, and like it's going to be kind of like running downhill almost at that point. Definitely. We're looking at the forecast like leading up to it, mostly looking for rain initially because there's a chance, but we stay dry the whole time. But the wind, there's like pretty decent wind, and one of the apps I was reading, it was like the first half of the day, the wind is coming out of the south, which is the direction that we were running to start. And then the second half of the day, it was coming out of the north, which I'm like, that can't be possible. So I kind of just like ignored it. But then sure enough, we were definitely like into the wind both ways. Oh, no. And for the most part, the course is fairly protected, but the more exposed parts, you could really feel the wind. So, but
imagine, okay, so you had it the worst way. You were into the wind 2 ways. That's like the story our parents would tell. They walk both ways in the snow.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine having wind at your back both ways.
World record.
Just a complete game changer for when it was open. I mean, it's so much easier to run with the wind at your back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we thought we could beat Olsen running on in Chicago, and your wind was probably 10 times worse than ours.
Honestly, it wasn't bad. It was off the lake, obviously, but in terms of like what it could have been, it was not bad. It was a pretty calm day in terms of running the lakefront, but no, it was all good. You guys smoked it. So now the important shit. So we talked about Dr. Pepper. I heard some goo references, heard some block references. What was the go-to? What was the stomach calmer? Like, what were the foods that we ate throughout the race that seemed to like work for you on race day? Like, what were the go-to foods?
So we packed a lot of our stuff, of our food. We didn't really utilize the aid stations that they provided.
No aid station hot dogs, no fireball shots.
The first aid station we got to, they had bacon.
Nice.
It just didn't sound good to me at all in the first 10 miles.
It sounded really good to me, but that was also like when I had a little stomach stuff going on. I'm like, if I eat bacon now, I might be just in the woods for the rest of this day. So
yeah, it might be 4 porta pots, might be only 3 for the rest of the groups. I'm going to be all day.
Yeah, exactly.
I was looking for hot dogs after listening to Stanfa's 50K this past weekend, but there were no hot dogs, unfortunately. But yeah, mostly just goos for me. I think I had Gatorade, water, and Dr. Pepper. But mostly goos. I think I had some fruit snacks also, Spider-Man fruit snacks.
Okay.
But yeah, tried to stick to goos every 5-ish miles. Okay. So sometimes it would work to hit them at the aid station. Sometimes I'd just be restocking at the aid station.
Sure.
After the race, I realized that I packed some sour cream and Pringles per advice of both of you, but did not eat any, and I don't know where they are. So I don't know if Tim and Rhonda ate them or J-Lo ate them or what.
They packed us some snacks.
Yeah,
our parents had the dog down there too, Dash, so maybe he ate all the chips.
Yeah, so, I didn't eat any Pringles though. So
So Alex, you mentioned that you ate mostly goos. Is that how you trained? Did you train like your long runs with mostly eating goos every 4 to 5 miles? So that was what you were used to and comfortable with?
Yeah, yep. So in training, I guess I personally consider the long run to be 9 or more miles. So anything over 9, I would usually take a goo halfway through. If it's, more than 9, if it's like 10 or 15, I would try to goos at, every 4 or 5 miles, just to get used to that. And then obviously just water I had on my back and the bladder, but mostly just goose through training. So I just kept with that for the race. So
If it works, don't change it, right?
Exactly.
yeah.
So, all right, Nate, you're up.
Yeah, I wasn't much different. I think I was like bummed to hit that first aid station and like smell the bacon, and then they had beer at that one too, and then they had something else on the way back. What did they have on the way back?
Somebody had like Panama Jacks.
Panama Jacks, like a.
I don't know what that is.
I don't
Is
remember
that
what it was.
Like a frozen drink or
type
something?
thing.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Was it like a drink or was it a food?
Yeah, it was a drink. It was like
Okay.
like a lemonade, like a spiked lemonade. I don't
Okay.
know.
Got it.
Anyways, I think the first aid station we hit had like the best assortment,
Okay.
which is good and bad. It was good to like set the tone, but also it's like it was just too early on for me to like switch anything up.
Yep.
And so yeah, I did a lot of goos. I like do them a little bit more frequently than Alex did. So like I'm almost every like 5K for me. I was like doing goo and then mixing blocks in too. And then a little bit of fruit, bananas. They had like the little cups of cuties too. So I had those, had some M&Ms. Those are clutch.
What kind of?
They're just like the OGs.
They had peanut M&Ms too, though, right?
Yeah, I just had the plain ones though.
I guess at one aid station I did, they had Uncrustables at most of them. So
Dude,
I grabbed an Uncrustable.
One bite and left.
JLo we had supplies to actually make peanut butter and jellies.
I had
But
some in mind.
the Uncrustable just sounded better. So I grabbed that, opened it, took a bite and put it on the cooler.
And then left.
And then
Did you
left.
forget it, or did you just like we're like, I'm done. This is not what I want right
That's
now.
all I needed, just one bite. Everybody knows the rules.
Everyone knows the rules. Yeah.
There's no-
Yeah.
So I did that, and then my dad was like, "Oh, whose is this?" And my mom apparently was like, "Who do you think?" And
Are you known for taking a bite out of food and leaving it?
I don't know. I don't know what she meant by that, but my dad put it back in the wrapper and saved it, and I never ate it again. Just one bite was all I needed for the whole run. So
Nice. That was the only solid food that you had besides goo.
I think so.
Damn.
I thought you didn't have any fruit?
Oh, I did end up having some grapes on the
Clutch.
way back. Those were actually really good. We had some red grapes that Tim Ronda brought.
Yeah, because grapes are so like replenishing. What's the word I'm thinking of?
Refreshing.
Refreshing.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I think we both at the turnaround after we talked to Olson, I think we both, I don't know what it was the mindset that we're halfway and we can like do whatever we want. Like I think we both ate a little bit more than we probably should have or maybe wanted to. So after leaving the turnaround, I think we both kind of were a little sluggish and, walked a little bit more. At least I did. I walked a little bit more than we had been doing. Just kind of let the extra food and drink digest. But
yeah. And I guess I want to hear about kind of the conversation that you guys had. You did all the training together. You guys ran, a good portion of this entire race together. And I know that you guys finished at slightly different times. Was that a difficult decision to make? It was like, hey, if Alex is feeling good, go ahead. Or if Nate's feeling good, go ahead. When was that point you guys decided to like split a little bit? And what was the conversation that you guys had? And was that a difficult one to have?
We had talked about it before, and we did a lot of our long runs together. So we each had days in training that one person felt better than the other, or one person felt like, everyone's had that, in especially like group runs where you just like feel like you're just chasing the whole time, like you can hardly keep up. You've also been the one probably where you just feel really good and you're like, oh man, I'm just running away from this person. So we had definitely had that in training here and there. And I think like just setting like some loose time standards. We didn't have any like, strict times we were going for by any means. And like, excuse me, like you said, Olson, like once we got to those kind of championship rounds, it was like every every mile was a PR. So that was good. But I talked to Adam Kimball a couple weeks prior, just kind of like how to like negotiate that. And we did just like a grid in a spreadsheet of, this is about when we would hit the different stops at this pace versus a little bit faster or a little slower. It's always good to just have kind of like a general idea of like, okay, this is what 10 hours looks like. This is what 8 hours looks like. This is what 12 hours looks like. And just to kind of have like an idea. And then like just kind of knowing where our crew was too, just being able to go. So we, like Alex said, like we knew we could get to that 50K because we had done that before. And once we got to that, like we were both hurting when we split up. We were like getting to the point where it was like just kind of like painful. Alex you probably had a little bit more of like, I don't know, tightness or whatever going on. But the thing that like kind of split it for me was like it was hurting me to run. It was also hurting me to walk, and then it was hurting me more to like start and stop. And so where Alex was like getting a little bit of relief on the changes, it was like hurting me more. So I was like, let's just split off. And
if it hurts to walk, then run. I'm just gonna, hurt and run and get it done quicker, kind of thing.
Yeah. So
exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of prepped for that, and luckily, again, the course was like so accessible that our crew was able to like service both of us at all the stops, and that made it work out.
There was only one aid station that we weren't together for.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Got it. So it was pretty late in the race when you guys slightly split. And I guess as you guys kind of go through that, you guys are progressing through that last aid station where you guys were split, and obviously you're on the home stretch after that one. Kind of take us through maybe the last, you were both solo, which I think is actually kind of a good thing. So you have to have that internal dialogue with yourself as you kind of cross that finish line, kind of have your moment, and maybe looking back, maybe you disagree, but maybe take us through, each of you, kind of like what your internal dialogue was, that last 5K or mile, or whatever it was, when you knew like, hey, fuck yeah, I'm finishing this. I put in all this work over the last 4 or 5 months, whatever it's been, and now this is the moment it comes to fruition. It's a pretty powerful moment. Like, what was the internal dialogue you guys were having? What was the sense of accomplishment when you did cross that finish line?
I I was just like, I was just doing the weird math, like counting it down, like leaving the last aid station, we basically had 7 and change to go, I think. So, and then there's one unmanned stop for water in between. So, I was, I like my default that I have in my watch is to set like 5K times. And so I was trying to like just break the race into chunks based on that and just get like a rough idea of like what my 5Ks look like. And when I left, I like hit another lap. So I was like, okay, I've got a chance at a couple, like, or at least at one 5K. I don't remember quite where it hit, but I was like, I got a 5K or 2 here that I can like try to get. And I was like, I wonder if I can get under 30 minutes again for a 5K. And I just felt like I was just like cruising. I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely like a 28-minute 5K. No chance. They were like 32, 33, which obviously at that point, like I was pretty spent. So like, that was like what was on my mind, is like to do that. And then I had like 2 bottles, and I was like, when I get to this next 5K, like lap timer beeps at me, it's going to be under 30 minutes. I'm going to have my Gatorade that's in here. I'm going to have my last goo or whatever. And then I'm going to, shortly after, I was like a mile after that, I'll hit the water, and then I'll just be like, ride adrenaline. But like, it just felt so long. And then it was also like windy because that last bit was like exposed again. So we go back onto the highway and kind of come like back into that park. But I don't know, for me is like, just reflecting on the long training schedule, and just like really exciting to be there, and like a fun like celebration of it, and glad my folks could come down, and glad Josephina was there. And I got a little like teary eyed at the finish line, like coming across. Didn't stop my watch right away, so I had to go back and edit the Strava activity because didn't want to add that extra minute on there or whatever it was.
Hell no.
But yeah, it felt good. And they're, we're spread out enough at that point where they're announcing people's names they come across, which is cool. So
exciting.
Awesome.
all good.
How about you, Alex? What was that? Maybe that last 5K, whatever it is. What was that last stretch for you, and how did it feel across the finish line?
Yeah. So from that last aid station, like you said, it was like 7 miles or six or seven or maybe 8. I don't know. Who knows? That was definitely the toughest for me. Like we said earlier, they were stage starts or different
Yep.
stagger starts. So I was just trying to look for that highway crossing because that was like a mile ish out from the start finish line. So once we got to the highway, that was like basically your home free.
Home stretch. Yep.
Yeah. So I was basically looking for that the whole time. Didn't come easy. Like I said before, also I was doing a lot of that walk a tenth and try to jog 2/10. So I also was looking at my watch and trying to, I had a rough goal, kind of a stretch goal of trying to get under 10. We had figured it out, it's, if you do 5 miles an hour, that's 10-minute miles. And then you have 10 minutes to just chill or just 12-minute miles straight through. So I was hoping to go under 10 as a stretch goal. And I was like, my watch was like a little ahead distance wise, I think, because of the walking at the aid stations and whatnot. But I think we figured it out. I figured I was like 4/10 ahead. So once I was at 57 miles, I was like, okay, I'm like
57 miles.
I'm like
47 miles.
47, okay.
47 miles. I was like, I'm 3 miles out. I had like 32 minutes. Like that's 3 easy 10-minute miles. That's cake. And I was like, oh wait, I just ran 47 miles. So that's not so easy.
Turns out not cake.
Out 4 miles in that time without
Exactly. Yeah. So I didn't make the 10 hour goal, but I got passed by, I felt like so many people on that last mile after crossing the highway. But looking back at the time results, a couple of them were ones that had started before me. So I actually did finish ahead of them overall.
Nice.
So that made me feel a little better. But yeah, the final stretch also, like the last mile was pretty much all uphill.
Ooh.
The little elevation gain that we had was like at the end there. So that also kind of sucked. But yeah, walking and running up that last stretch and then rounding the corner into the finish line. Obviously you got to run that, but it hit. I was running up after the final turn into the finish line, and there was like a rut in the path from the rain that they had the past week. And I like tried to like sidestep that, and I'd been cramping up every so often here and there. I like sidestepped that and got a huge cramp in my calf. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I gotta fight through this.
He's gonna go down 15 yards from the finish.
I was like, I'm not gonna walk at the last, like when people can actually see me, I'm not gonna walk this last part. So I fought through that calf cramp so hard at the last to finish. But yeah, it felt good to finish, like Nate said. Felt good to see everybody and have your name announced and actually get over the finish line and actually be done. I also didn't stop my watch at the end, so and right when we crossed, we got these nice belt buckles.
Those
so
are awesome.
Those are dope.
They handed us these, and then we also got one of those 50-mile stickers that you see on some people's vehicles. So both of ours are already plastered on our vehicles.
I saw a Subaru in the parking lot there, so I just put it on the back of that. I guess I'll just go there.
Perfect. So are you guys gonna get belts for your belt buckles?
I've got one. Okay, I got a belt I can put on, probably.
It was kind of crazy when we both got massaged after the race, and they were announcing obviously the finishers, and the RD was saying like, we'll get you your to the people after us, like, we'll get you your belt buckle, but we don't have them because they're stuck in customs. So he apparently ordered like 4 boxes, I think, of them, but only one of them made it through. They were either stuck in customs or stuck in the Suez Canal. Who knows?
On Bodie McDonald's.
But that was kind of crazy.
So looking back now, you finished the race. You guys both crushed it. both of your times were way better than any of my 50-mile times over the 4 times that I've done it, or whatever, 3 times I've run that distance. Looking back, you've had a couple days to recover. What would you do differently about your training plan, about the execution, about the day?
It's a tough question.
Or one or none.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like obviously, since it's our first one, nothing really to compare it to. We were talking a little bit like maybe we did go out too fast. I think to like the first like at least 13 miles we were running mile splits that were either starting at 8 or a 9. So we never ran over a 10-minute mile until the first actual aid station, I think, when we had like a 10-minute mile, and then the next like 4 were also like 8 or 9-minute miles. So maybe we went out too fast. We were thinking like wondering if we would actually have extra extra fuel in the tank on the back end if we would have went out a little slower, but also hard to know if that would have benefited us or not.
Mhm.
Maybe we bought ourselves some time at the beginning with that little faster pace so that we could run a little slower on the back end. I don't know.
Yeah, you
And
finished.
I feel like you guys did a great job training too, like stacking miles, getting big weeks. So you were pretty used to running on like tired legs. So maybe it was great that you banked some time in the beginning, and maybe you wouldn't have had that much more to give in the end, and you might have saved 30 minutes off the time.
Yeah, that's what I was saying too. Like when we had that 50K training run, we had fresh, whereas coming to the race, we were just running 2 miles a day for the whole week. So, maybe we had that benefit there that our legs were a little fresher, that we could go out a little harder for that first, however many miles. But
And how are we feeling today? How are the legs doing? We're 4 days removed. How are the legs feeling? 3, 4 days removed. How the legs feeling today? And is the body sore? Or are you guys feeling like you're on the mend? I know Nate today had a pretty brutal blister. How's the body feeling?
Yeah, on my end, like I did pretty well, I think overall. I like my calves are tight, I would say. That's kind of hanging over. And then I had like one blister that's pretty gnarly, but like wasn't giving me any problems out there. Just that'll probably go away now. And then I'm getting through the soreness now. We've been on a couple shakeouts since, so getting our legs moving again. And like the miles suck for doing the shakeouts is kind of brutal afterwards, but you feel so much better after doing it, because it's like, okay, the blood's flowing again, and shower up and just feel a lot better. But
How about you, Alex?
yeah, I mean, I'm getting obviously getting better. I've been climbing roofs and stuff lately, so I
for your job,
yeah, for my job, not just out there.
Not as a hobby.
the peeping Tom.
Yeah.
Hobby.
So
Peeping Tom.
I've been working climbing roofs and doing fine. It's just the standing up from sitting down for a while, or getting out of your truck after you've been driving for a while. That's the tough part. Our first streak saver on Sunday, we ran that once we got back to Des Moines. So it was close to 12-minute pace, but
You do what you got to do, right?
yeah, gotta do what you gotta do. We're back down close with 9 today, so
Nice.
getting there and feeling a little better, but obviously still sore here and there. Still
You're
using
running
icy
7:30.
hot.
Yeah, you'll be running 7:30s by Saturday.
I don't think so.
I actually have another 50 mile on Saturday, so it's great.
Were there any close calls to getting like stranded on the toilet? That's happened to me a few times after ultras, where you like you sit down, go to stand back up, and you're like, that might
I
not
don't know
happen.
about this.
Not happening.
Yeah.
No, we didn't have anything like that.
Yeah. I guess I have one final question, and this may be the kind of the big one to kind of wrap things up, and then I'll let Michael ask any questions he has.
We're not running any more races ever again.
That's a fucking lie.
Is that the question?
Oh, that's a
My
lie.
question to be: is there any interest? I know, of course, the natural reaction that Alex said is never. As soon as he crossed the finish line, I'm never doing that again. You've had a few days to digest it. Be honest. Have you been on ultrasound since then? And is there, if not, is there any interest in ever doing another one, or is it too close to the finish line to comment on that?
I haven't been on ultra sign up, but I would probably do it again.
Even that's a significant change since Sunday when you're like, I'm never doing this again.
Yeah. I haven't been on ultra sign up, like I said, but you know, for me at least, it's just hard to find races. Like during the summer, I'm busy traveling for work a lot of the time, so it's hard to get the training and hard to, be available to just run for a whole day or more. That's why this race was so appealing because it was early in the year. We could train over the winter when I wasn't as busy. But I've definitely found some races on Ultra Sign Up that I would like to do if I wasn't so busy. There's one out in Utah where it's the Salt Flats Endurance Series. So you actually run across the Salt Flats, which would be pretty cool, I think, just to be out there. But another one up in Michigan that would be pretty cool. But just given time of the year, I don't know if they'll actually work for me or not, but
Sure.
I would say, in the future, I'd definitely try again.
Cool.
Yep.
Nate, how about you?
Also have not been back on ultra sign up, but yeah, I think like you said, this was a good one just in terms of like timing and when we could train. And I mean, everyone knows like just training takes a big toll on not just your body, but your time, your schedule, and things like that. And especially when you get into the heavier weeks, it's like you got Saturday and Sunday runs, and even it's crazy because your long runs 3, 4, 5 hours at the most, but it still just feels like it takes your whole day because it's like
Definitely.
you're up early, there's a little bit of logistics involved, like finding where you're going to run the route. And you go run and you come back and it's like you got to recover a little bit, you're ice bathing or hot bathing, whatever it is. And so yeah, definitely a lot with that. I'm like somewhat excited to get my weekends back a little bit from that.
Yeah.
I was joking with Josephina, my girlfriend, saying like the Formula One season just started this past weekend too. So she thought that like Sundays would be open. We could like go to brunch or something now, but no, Formula One is on Sunday mornings. So, but no, I think this race was also just good for a lot of reasons as like a first time 50 miler, first time ultra runner, because not only was the course like accessible and flat and fast, and we like really lucked out with weather, just having like very mild conditions, but also all the logistics weren't too challenging for the most part. I kind of like freak out about those kind of things sometimes, not like a bad way, maybe a bad way, but like I'm like way over preparing and like thinking about everything that could go wrong and like just having everything on hand. And so, being able to drive, was it 4 hours, basically 4 hours and change to the race, being able to have our folks there and JLo there to crew, like just all of the non-running aspects for it were just so easy for us. It would have been a completely different race if we were not self-supporting, but like if it was just us that went down, we had to do drop bags and, whatever, just like any one of those other factors that could have made it more difficult, we didn't really have to worry about. So I think that's another thing that kind of comes with like doing other races. If you do like more destination style, like I ran the Bahamas Marathon Relay back in January 2013. That was so cool because it's like a beautiful course, just right along the ocean, like awesome. And I'd love to run that again, but it's like you got to go to the Bahamas to do that, and it's like everything just kind of like multiplies on that. So same thing with like some of the races Alex has looked at. Like I've looked at some other races that'd be cool to do, or we've talked about doing a relay race like a Ragnar or one of those kind of things. But on top of the physical shape you've got to be in for that and all the prep, you also add on like vans and lodging and getting people from point A to point B. So I like the challenge of those things too, like the non-racing challenge of just get everything ready. But yeah, it's definitely just a lot of work, and training plans are, I almost feel like guilty sometimes being like training is so taxing because it's like I don't have that much that I'm like responsible for. I'm like kids or like all these responsibilities that I'm dealing with, but it's just it's busy to train and
For sure.
takes up a lot of time. So
Definitely.
Yeah,
Awesome.
no, it definitely does, and it's nice. It's nice when you're done and can take some time off, and but and also it'll be nice getting back your Friday nights and Saturday nights. And
Yeah.
again, we're in this whole COVID situation. So Friday nights and Saturday nights aren't quite as crazy or wild as they probably used to be in years past, but still,
Right.
it's nice to not have to worry about going to bed at 10 o'clock on a Friday or Saturday because you got to get up to run 20, 30 miles or whatever in the morning. So
Yeah.
you've earned it. Absolutely. So, but if you want to do the Earth Day 50K in 3 weeks, sign up.
That's an option.
Ride with us.
I love the earth, but I don't know if I'm up for
Fair
that.
enough. Fair enough.
Not that much.
Any other
Yeah.
final questions, Michael, for them? Or should we?
I'm good.
I have one quick one question, and this might be a long one, but hopefully you can answer it in like a couple words. What's your biggest takeaway, whether that's a mental takeaway or physical takeaway through this process? It's a pretty unique one, running 50 miles. What's your biggest takeaway, each of you, from this experience?
I guess I would say, if you have a goal, if you put in the work, you'll reap the benefits or whatever. I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know
breaking
what
the
I'm
goal
saying.
down to small.
If you have a goal and you do the work to obtain a goal, then you'll be fine.
Yeah.
For sure.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I guess having goals is the main thing. And if you have a goal and you train for the goal, then you'll get your goal.
No, I think that makes
I sound
sense.
like an idiot, but that's what I'm trying to say. Like it's easy. I mean, that's all it boils down to.
Cut that up. That's the teaser for this episode.
No, but I think you're right.
You
there.
have a goal. Yeah.
I mean,
Like you can, like, not to sound cliche, but like you can do anything you put your mind to. So if you have something you want to do and you put your mind to it and you actually put in the work, then it's not gonna be as tough as if you just signed up for the 50 mile and walked up to the starting line without doing anything. Obviously, if you put in the work, you're gonna see that, and it's gonna be easy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think you're gonna let me plug my book without planning to, but my book that's coming out later this year called The Silent Marathon. This is just like that. It's you just breaking down a goal into something that you can do, and a 50-mile race or any ultra marathon or any race, even different people doing different distances. I remember when a 5K seemed daunting, and it's just different distances, different levels for different people. But running a 50 miler is difficult. It's hard, but it's not complex. And I think that lots of times people forget about that. And same thing with a marathon, ultra marathon, like our training plan we found by Googling 50-mile training plan. And, we downloaded that and we're like, okay, this is what we're doing. And we just kind of followed that and we stuck to the plan. And so, it was hard, and there were hard weeks of training, and there were times when we were sore. There were times when, we missed certain mileage or, had good weeks and bad weeks, but, you just work the plan, and then everything kind of came to fruition. And I know I think it's in Atomic Habits by James Clear. He talks about like one good way to like reach goals or, to go after something you're interested in is to join a group where your desired behavior is the norm. And so like that obviously helps too, of like, the guys on this call that we run with, and, some of our other running buddies in the JDRC gang, or just, the people that you surround yourself with, even if it's not I think we've learned, especially during these kind of quarantining times, like even if it's not in a physical way, if you put yourself in those groups virtually, through phone calls, Zooming, text, whatever it is, just be around people that their default behavior as members of those groups is what you want to do, then, that just makes it that much easier, So we've been lucky to have, the support of our run club, like you guys on this call. Adam Kimball, big helper in all this. We haven't met Alec Merlino yet, but we send him vibes back and forth. He's finishing up his calendar club here this week, and just like being in community with those people, and getting vibes from them, and in some ways it almost like it kind of like humbles you in a way that's like, it's not a big deal. Like all these people around you have run a 50 miler, they've run a 100 miler, they've run, these different races. And so that just doesn't make it easier, but it makes makes it mentally attainable. And so
Definitely.
then you just go after it. And, you know, we try to have this like mindset going into the race day where it's like, you know, the race day is just celebrating. We're just going out there. We've already done all the work. Like,
Yep.
you know, we were prepared to race, and not that it was going to be easy from there. You know, we certainly like face adversity, and you know, our bodies were still aching and hurting and all of that, but like we were ready for that. And so, you know, if that is a good thing that you can take anywhere in life, and any goal is like, if you prepare for it and you go into it, then that's all you can do, because then you just work the plan that got you there. So
Yep. I think that's exactly right. I resonate with that a
Love
lot. Anything? I think that was good, and I think Nate kind of tied it into Alex's last his statement too. You break it into small goals. You do the
Yeah.
work. You reach your desired goal. So, boys,
Yep.
super proud of you. I think that you know, I've said it a number of times, but the group that you know is in JJRC, everyone in that group now at least is run an ultra marathon, which is crazy to think about. You know, I don't think any of us had really done that outside of Michael a couple of years ago. So, super stoked for you guys. Super impressed.
Yeah.
Can't wait for the next one, whatever that may be, because I got a feeling that at some point we're gonna be having this
It's
conversation.
gonna creep
again.
up.
Our consumption of miles has gone up a lot recently with all of us like training, but our consumption of donuts has unfortunately gone way down because we haven't like hung out as much in person. So I would love to like balance that out a little bit.
I'm with you on that. I'm
More
I'm
donuts,
definitely
fewer
with you on that.
miles.
Well, at least more donuts. I don't know.
Okay, at least
Yeah, more donuts always.
Yeah.
I think we can probably make that work sometime soon.
Yep.
Deal.
Yep. Alrighty, boys. Anything else we want to ask you? I know Alex has got a 7:30 thing. I want to make sure we get out of here so you guys can enjoy the rest of your night. But anything else, Michael, before we let these guys go?
I don't think so. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. Nate, you plugged your book. Do you guys want to plug any social media, anything else that you want to talk about? How can people reach you if they're curious?
I'm on just Instagram, Alex Bleadorn. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, Nate Bleadorn. Bliedorn.com is where I have my my first chapter of my books available. I will challenge you guys, Chiowa Pod. We were talking to Josephina after her crewing. This is like her first like big time crewing experience with doing a race, but she also crewed for us and a lot of our training stuff too. So we did a couple runs down at that's what lake we did, Matt.
Easter Lake? Is that what it was?
Easter Lake, yeah,
Yep.
down south of downtown Des Moines. So she crewed for us there, and then we did some gravel travel out here out west too. And so
In a 24-hour 50K.
yeah, we did our 24-hour mile and change an hour for the 50K that we talked about last time we were on here. She crewed for that. So we were saying that we think we should get an episode where you guys interview some of the crew. So
Definitely.
whoever that might be, maybe Josephina, Hillary. Oh God, he's already working on it.
I'm
Yeah,
already
those are
working on
listening.
it.
Michael
Yeah.
always texting the group to make that happen. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to hear like more of their perspective of it and like their stories from the race too. Just maybe while those are fresh, but
And also like find that dog that was running with us and get him on too.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
We
If
can
you can't
become a
get-
dog-friendly- we're a
Scout
dog-friendly
on, yeah.
podcast.
The dogs of Chiowa.
Yeah.
love
I don't hate that
Yeah.
at all. Don't hate that
it
at all.
Yeah.
Alrighty, boys. Well, again, super stoked for you guys. Thanks for hopping on and talking about it, and we'll catch you guys soon.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Thanks.
See ya.
Peace.
All right, we're done recording here. Olson's going to click his. Hour 13. I love it. It's longer than we normally go, which is good.
We have a lot to talk